Custom shop build secrets.
Today we're looking at 5 specs that some of the premium builders are using to give your guitar a custom shop boutique feel.
Yeah, these are things you're going to see on a lot of the guitars that we have here in stock. These are things that we've spec'd out ourselves. They're little things that add up all together to give a big difference in the playability, usability, and the tone of a premium instrument.
Yeah, these little tweaks definitely give you a more refined feel. And on a lot of the builds that we do, Fender Custom Shop, Novo, James Tyler, Sir, we spec these specific things out because they do add up to a better feeling guitar. Rolled fingerboard edges. This is something we see on a lot of the high-end boutique builds.
Yeah, and I think the idea with this is that a lot of older vintage guitars that have been played a lot, they can't be just an old vintage guitar, but one that's been played a lot, have those rolled edges. And people really find that comfortable. I know I certainly do. I have a James Tyler guitar as my main guitar, and they roll the edges, I think, more than anyone else. Like,
and maybe better than anybody else.
Yeah, I think so. It almost looks like it's a scalloped fingerboard from the side, but it's really comfy with that extra roll.
Yeah, it's a really comfortable feel. And like you said, that's something that would happen on vintage guitars over time, where you'd slowly get that edge of the fingerboard rolling just from wear. So.
Yeah, just from playing it, right? So companies are now building that in. And for some companies, it's an option. Some companies won't do it at all. And then you have more of that sharp edge. Like
harder edge.
Hard edge, not sharp. You're not going to cut. You might cut yourself.
That's part of it,
but
perhaps.
It's a hard edge, and it's a little less welcoming to play than the rolled, I find.
Yeah. And Martin has actually rolled this out to their new standard line too. So their new standard line of guitars have that extra roll on the fingerboard edge. Yeah. And it feels great.
Yeah, it's a minor, very small thing. It makes a big difference in the overall feel of the instrument.
There's 4 distinct different ways to cut a piece of wood. Flat sawn, rift sawn, quarter sawn. The reason you don't see quarter sawn used as frequently in guitar building is because it's the most wasteful method. So you tend to see a lot of rift sawn and flat sawn necks because they can get more pieces of wood out of that individual tree.
Right, but quarter sawn is the most stable.
Most stable.
So that's an option on a lot of guitars. You can still get Fender Custom Shop guitars with plain sawn or rift sawn wood, and it's still a good guitar.
Yeah.
But the quarter sawn option is going to be more stable. I guess that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and tuning stability is a big thing. And the overall stability of your guitar, so it not shifting as much in different seasons. So the more stable the wood, the less it's going to move. So that's something you definitely find on higher end instruments.
This has become really popular over the last few years, maybe the last decade.
Yeah,
years are going by pretty quick, which is roasting the wood or tempering the wood. So it's a process where they actually like bake the wood in a oven, it's a kiln, I guess, and they're reducing the moisture content be way below what they are normally reducing it. And it's actually changing the cellular structure of the wood. It gives it a darker look, the kind of caramel kind of look.
So this is in line with the Quartersawn maple, where this contributes to stability, but it's also a tonal aging process as well. So it's a thermal aging process. So the wood actually starts to open up and it cures more. It's also kind of this additional curing process. Yeah.
Now, some people like the sound of roasted maple necks, and there's some people that really don't like the sound of it as well. So it is going to be a different thing. Personally, I do like the roasted necks. We get a lot of custom shop builds in here, in particular from Fender with roasted necks, and I think they sound great.
Yeah, and we also see this a lot with acoustic guitar building. Martin does their VTS. VTS tops, which is a thermal aging process. We see Boucher doing torrefication on their tops, and they're actually doing torrefication of the back and sides of the guitars now too.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. That's another thing. Fender also does this on the bodies, and Novo does it as well. Tempered bodies. So
on every guitar.
Yeah, every Novo is tempered necks and bodies. So they're quite committed to that whole process. But Fender, we do a lot of custom shop specs with the roasted body as well. It's also going to usually end up with a lighter weight body. So a lot of people are looking for lighter weight Strats and Tellies, and Fender Custom Shop, like when you spec it for lightweight and roasted, you can often get something that's very, very light. Hand wound pickups or a premium pickup, making that choice to go the extra mile in the overall electronics. So in Fender Custom Shop, we do a lot of the hand wound, the Josephina hand wound pickups. So this is like one person who's making these pickups by hand, and they do sound much better. Another thing we do often is we'll substitute in another premium pickup, like something like by Throwback, for example. Like their pickups are amazing. So for humbuckers, we'll often have that used in a Fender Custom Shop build.
Yeah, and we see companies like Collings, they're using Lawler, they're using Throwback, Novo's using Fralin. And then, yeah, like you said, a lot of times when we spec out Fender Custom Shop builds, we're going to pick a more premium bridge pickup or something that would pair well with the single coil pickups as an upgrade. And with Castadosa guitars, we're actually seeing Abigail Ybarra, one of the original Fender pickup winders. She's winding pickups for the Abbey model. So those are pretty cool, and they definitely have a ton of mojo.
Yeah, those guitars sound phenomenal at Castadosa. All the Castadosas are just amazing. So his wife, Stephanie, is making some of the pickups, but Abby is doing the ones for the Abbey model.
Yeah.
So with a company like James Tyler, for example, they make all their own electronics, but they have a few really interesting things that you can get. They have like a real vintage style pure single coil. They add like a dummy coil to it, and then so you can still get like parallel sounds out of like a traditional kind of single coil sound, which makes it even thinner and more like that 80s vibe. A lot of what they offer from the factory with electronics is something they shouldn't pass on. When you're speccing out a guitar from them, I feel like that sound is that mid boost, and it's the series parallel split on the single coils and humbuckers. Get that overall thing. With something like a Fender Custom Shop, oftentimes a key thing, very simple thing to not miss, is have a volume control, a tone for the neck, and a tone for the bridge pickup. Right? Like you'd think, well, of course, that's how it is, but it's not, right?
Not the default. And we've made that mistake a couple times, but that's definitely the way you want your Strat to be. I mean, that's the most useful layout.
You don't want a tone just for the middle pickup, but no tone for your bridge pickup?
Very strange.
Yeah, it is a little strange.
But we see this. So this is often the first thing to go with lower end guitars, is something to do with the electronics, right? It's an expensive thing often to do extra switching. I mean, the pots, all the components are kind of expensive. So this is something that we often see on low end guitars. They just drop this all together.
Right.
You know?
And this is another thing when you're speccing out a guitar, right at this moment, this is going to add a cost to the instrument when you have hand wound pickups, when you have some wiring changes, when you have that stuff. It's going to be an increased cost, but oftentimes this is a kind of thing where it's either now or later, right? Like, or later you're going to want to switch out the pickups to something better. So a lot of the stuff that we do spec out, we kind of want to get it as right as possible.
From the factory.
Yeah,
on the spec sheet. So we have seen some of these premium specs roll out to lower end instruments, but just because they have these specs doesn't necessarily mean they're going to feel like a boutique guitar.
No, certainly not. I'm wondering too if those, like some of the lower end roasted necks aren't even roasted.
They're just tinted.
They're tinted.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in order to get that premium feel, you really do have to have a few of these specs going on. You have to have a bit of an additive effect where you spec'd out a guitar in such a way that you're kind of eliminating the possibility that it's going to be sterile or stiff or, just not very vibey.
Right. Well, all these specs we're talking about are you kind of meant to be applied to a really great guitar in the first place. So all those other things about making a really great guitar have to be there first.
Right.
The wood, the contact in the neck pocket, all the things that make a great guitar great. And then this stuff is like the icing on the cake.
Thanks for watching today. We'd like to hear what you guys think are premium specs that really elevate a guitar.
Yeah, love to get some more good ideas.
And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to see more from us.